How are you going to respond to what Coleman Hills did to you? There was like a body bag after that debate.
Well, you ain't doing nothing, bro. You're sitting here talking about what another man did.
You've already been in a body bag, Dave. I'm here to clean up the scraps.
This is like retard on retard combat.
Memo, here you go, Dave. Remember this memo from Wesley Clark that you used to cite everything?
This is adorable.
That you used to cite? Yeah.
Adam, I'm not quite sure. What is the point you're making?
The point is this: Dave has zero credibility at this point.
Well, you don't really get to decide that. You know, the people, the audience.
Are lefties in question on your ideological position? No, lefties, no, they know where I stand. They will misrepresent it, though, to try to position me further to the right than I actually am. But the reason they do this is because I understand that I am a liberal, and they don't want to have they don't have ideological alignment with liberals, right?
They completely bullied. What audience? Okay. The four people that show up to your comedy show at the ha. You live in America, tough guy. You have the luxury of sitting in your little studio with your hooded sweater, like you're 17 years old.
Adam, I'm 17 years old.
Who's your favorite president?
I have a wife and children. Who depends on you, Adam? Your mom?
Okay, I also have
if you want to make it personal,
other. So you want to go personal?
You have a significant other.
We can go as personal as you.
Oh my God. I don't know how people wire into these shows, but there's obviously like a 2-second delay for Adam's response here, and it makes it sound so much worse because it sounds like he just got blown the out, but he's waiting for it to catch up, and then he goes to answer. You could tell there's a delay. Rip. Snarkers constantly say that all DGGers are going to become gripers as their cope. Bro, you can probably find clips from 6 years ago of Mike from PA and other people saying like, "Oh, Destiny's just about to heel turn to become a conservative. Oh, here he's about to go on his Republican arc. Destiny's about to become a Republican." They say this all the time. It's so cringe.
I have a wife and children. Who depends on you, Adam? Your mom?
Okay, I also have
if you want to make it personal,
other. So you want to go personal?
You have a significant other.
We can go as personal as you.
What are you going?
Are there actually big name people who don't want to talk to you because of Nick Fuentes shit? Or is that BS? Wait, who said that? No, nobody's ever. No, it's just going to be general online unsavory drama in general, which is pretty equal for almost any online streamer.
Be professionals. That's not how I handle debates. I don't handle debates that way. That's not my MO. So if you're close to me and you're handling it that way, that is not my style. This next phase requires all of us to recreate ourselves, and that includes you. And you have to make a decision on what you want to do with this next phase. You got to recreate yourself.
Sure. All right, so Patrick Bet David's co-host, Adam, recently did a debate with Dave Smith on Piers Morgan's show, and Dave made an absolute fool out of him. Well, actually, Adam just made a fool out of himself. You know, Dave really didn't have to do much, but it was so bad PBD had to talk with Adam about it publicly because he knows Adam is terrible for his brand. Even PBD's fans can't stand him. Every podcast for like the past year, there are always a ton of comments talking about how annoying he is.
Oh, the Israel thing is going to be a big thing.
And how PBD
we've
needs to
seen that
fire
because
him,
of that. Yeah.
Which after this debate, he might be considering if Adam doesn't change because this was so humiliating for Adam and PBD. I think PBD is probably more embarrassed about it than Adam because Adam has no shame. This guy went into the debate with the strategy of just bringing up someone else's debate with Dave. Like he just kept saying Dave has no credibility left because he got destroyed in this debate with Coleman Hughes. So he basically just went on the show to tell Dave that he shouldn't be taken seriously and he has no credibility. But it just completely backfired. You know, Adam was already a total joke, but after this, I don't think anybody will take him seriously ever again. I mean, it almost felt like this guy was just trying to make himself look like an idiot. Piers had to ask him multiple times what the point is of bringing up that other debate, which most people watching probably haven't even seen. So Adam's like, oh, well, I can bring up other debates if you want. So that's like his only strategy, just referring to other people's debates. So when Piers mentions that, Adam remembers the Douglas Murray-Dave Smith debate. And of course, Adam thought Douglas owned him by making a big deal about how Dave has never been to the Middle East. So Adam tries to use that tactic on him too, and it just ends so badly.
To pretend that it was an even match, an even debate, he put you in a body bag, and you're out here still doubling down on all your positions when he went methodically and surgically.
This is the saddest. I've never been in a debate where someone just fell back to someone else's debate. Boom, boom, boom. Name one of the booms. Make the point for yourself. Me and you are supposed to be debating
the
here,
memo
brother.
from Wesley Clark. The memo from Wesley Clark. Your whole foundation for your Israel. So listen up, little guy.
My point to you, Adam, is simply it's an unusual debating strategy to spend 10 minutes of this debate talking about another debate that most viewers may not see.
Yes, it's
there's other debates that we can bring up. The fact, Dave, when's the last time you were in the Middle East?
Oh, okay, so this is what you're falling back to now. I have not been to the Middle East. Go do your best Douglas Murray acting job. Adam, brother, I was prepared to come in here on friendly terms. So you are humiliating yourself right now. I don't care if you're going to be friends. I'm really not. You're humiliating yourself right now.
You've been humiliating yourself. Do you see what's going on where Piers Morgan lives in London? Do you see what's going on all over the world?
I've been an advocate of strict immigration controls for many years.
You said that Dave couldn't talk about the Middle East because he hasn't been there much. When was the last time you were in England?
I spent much time in England. My ex-wife was
Welsh. When was the last time?
She wasn't a sheep shagger.
When was the last time?
The last time I was in Europe, in England, in the Middle East. Where would you like me to go?
No, England.
The last time I was in England was about 8 years ago.
Right. So this idea, let me tell you.
The last time I was in Israel.
Let me tell you.
The last time I was in Israel was 3 years ago.
There is a weird.
Well, what does that have to do with anything? I guess I don't know the statements he's made recently on England or anything else, or what.
There is a weird idea.
We have to put this episode out. I like Adam.
There is a weird idea. There are many people.
Are you saying that not going to a country?
Adam, many people... Hang on.
So I don't know why Adam would agree to do this. Like, how do you think this was going to go well? Already everybody finds him completely insufferable, and he thought this would help. So PBD was not happy about this appearance because he already gets a ton of shit for having Adam on his show, which is the only reason anybody even knows him. But I don't think Adam has enough self-awareness to realize how bad he looks and how he'd be nothing without PBD. He says he never reads comments, which is probably a lie, but he seems to think this debate went fine. He acts like he doesn't even realize everybody thinks he's a joke, or maybe he just doesn't care, but he might need to start caring because PBD has had enough with his shenanigans and has been publicly calling him out on it. Like, also, if you remember last year, the whole crew seemed to be fed up with Adam because he acts like a diva, he parties too much, and he swears too much on the show. PBD had to call him out for that multiple times.
We're in Vegas. He went to, was it Dre's? Were you at Dre's?
Yes.
Dragging Adam out of the club. Adam still hasn't slept. He's hammered. He smells like tequila.
Disgusting.
And vodka and a few other smells. We don't want to get into it.
But I got coffee. I got coffee. I'm okay.
But he got his coffee. He got everybody here working for him, getting him coffee, tea, napkins, back rub.
Total diva.
The biggest diva that you got. Go to the back. All the people have been so nice to us. Okay. Adam's put the entire crew to work. I'm so upset at Adam. They're so respectful to us. They're so nice to us.
You would associate with Andrew Tate. I can't believe that you would talk to Candace Owens. Oh, yeah? Shut the f up. This is what we do. We talk to people. We hear the truth.
That's a regular thing for us. The reason why I'm getting upset at Adam is I'm asking specifically, stop dropping F-bombs. I've asked him so many times. I don't like it.
My bad, sir.
So PBD isn't afraid to let his co-host hear it on air, which some people think is inappropriate, like it should be handled behind the scenes, but it's good entertainment. It's always pretty funny. Like, also recently, right at the start of one of the podcasts, PBD had to start lecturing his co-host for using his phone too much, and then he told somebody to take it away from him.
What, 1,000,000 times? Adam told you 20 times, turn up. Can you just grab the phone? Just grab the phone from him. Tom.
Done.
No, I'm going to ask you one time. Put your phone over there, please. Can somebody grab Tom's phone and put it over there, please? Every podcast I have to ask you, and Adam, just ask you right now. We're live. Please give the phone to Mikhail and put it over there.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, Mikhail. Okay. All right, let's get right into it.
We still love you, though.
Every time podcast.
So during the most recent episode, he brought up Adam's debate and was politely trying to tell him it made the brand and him look really bad. I think he's starting to be embarrassed that Adam's even associated with him because Adam's just so unlikable. And PBD is always talking about how people are reacting to things in the marketplace of ideas. You know, he's definitely been reading the comments about Adam, and he asked Adam how he thought he did during the debate, and I don't think his response made PBD feel any better about it.
Let's get right into it. Opening topic that I want to address with you guys is this. Adam, you were on the Dave Smith. You and Dave Smith did a debate together. Obviously, the market has responded. Dave has retweeted and said something about this is the end of Adam funeral. He made some comments that went viral. You've responded. You made some videos. I want you to share with us, because the audience is curious. They're asking me, what is your impression on how you did on the debate with Dave Smith?
Well, despite what you think, I haven't listened or watched any of the internet comments. Zero. Like I don't go onto Twitter. I don't check the comments. It's just not something that I do. And I'm listening to a song called "Ain't Nothing Gonna Break My Stride, Ain't Nothing Gonna Slow Me Down," and that's how I feel about this. There's no doubt that Dave Smith is smart or wise or well-read.
Yeah.
But just because you're smart doesn't mean you're wise. Now, do I think Dave Smith is smart and capable? Sure. Do I think he's funny? No. Do I think he's right? Definitely not.
I'm asking you, how do you think you did?
I think I did fine. My intention wasn't to play nice. It's a big difference in the internet and comments in real life. I walk around in real life. I have zero issues.
You don't have issues there. That's not the conversation.
So the conversation that I was just basically establishing is that Dave Smith, as potent as he might be on a podcast, or even on Joe Rogan's for that matter, people don't support this guy.
I think Joe's had him on 20, 30 times.
Irrelevant.
No, it's not irrelevant. So ask whether you agree with the guy or not. You know, Joe likes Dave, right? So the question you got to ask yourself is, from my perspective, there is issues, there is approach, there is what's next for you.
And PBD said he's already tried having this conversation with Adam off air a few times, but he never listens, so that's why he's forced to do it publicly now. But still, Adam isn't taking the feedback very seriously. Like, PBD keeps telling him something needs to change, he needs to evolve, but Adam's just like, I don't care what anybody thinks, I'm gonna do what I want. So this is not the response PBD wanted to hear, and I think he's almost completely fed up with Adam at this point. Like, I'd imagine after the Dave Smith debate and how Adam handled the criticism from PBD here, he's definitely on the chopping block. Like, I don't think he'll ever understand how bad he looks and how bad that debate was, and PBD tries to explain it to him and how debates are supposed to go, and Adam's response is to bring up the Dave Smith-Coleman Hughes debate again. It's hilarious. And then you tell PBD is just like, all right, I'm never going to be able to get through to this guy.
And the reason why I'm doing this with you openly, and I'm talking to you openly with you, is there's an element of also representing where you're coming from. When you go and be professionals, that's not how I handle debates. That's not my MO. So if you're close to me and you're handling it that way, that is not my style. And by the way, the reason why I'm having this direct feedback with you publicly is for the following reason. This is how I roll, Adam. I will give you private feedback and have your back 100%. But if my private feedback that I'm giving doesn't land, and it feels like you have immunity to go run around and say whatever you want and keep saying, I don't give a shit what people say. I do, but it's recreating for the next phase of what is that next phase for you. And that's a very important thing for you to be thinking about. This next phase requires all of us to recreate ourselves, and that includes you in a big way. And I've said this privately 8 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago at that dinner place we went to, and I was very direct with you. But you're cornering me to have to say this publicly to you right now. And you have to make a decision on what you want to do with this next phase. You got to recreate yourself.
Sure. I'll just break this down real quick. We didn't have this discussion prior. You just kind of preemptively brought this up, and I'm totally okay with it. If I wanted to have an ideological debate with Dave, I would probably rephrase it that the world is a dangerous place, and he wants to pretend that he's an ostrich and not engage with anybody. Debate.
Forget Dave Smith. This isn't a Dave Smith conversation. That could have been John Doe. I'm not talking.
But the point is that I'm trying
what
to
is the purpose of a debate?
We're not aligned.
What is the purpose of a debate?
To find the truth.
The purpose. It's a clash of ideas.
Sure.
So somebody can watch and say, wow, good point. Never thought about it that way.
The reason I brought up the Coleman Hughes, and I encourage people to go watch it. This was the sort of like the swan song event. Imagine you hype up this event. Here's what's going on. The SLS is coming this weekend. Here's what's going on. And this debate takes place. And it was a 12-0 drubbing. So that's my point. Should I have conveyed it a little bit better? Sure. Should I have not brought up someone else's debate in my debate? Maybe I'll learn that for the next time. That's fine. But the reality is this. He got whooped and I called him out on it. That's all it was.
Yeah, but it was your fight and his.
Sure. For the next time, I'll debate him just heads on.
So I don't know if Adam will be around much longer. You know, if PBD gets rid of him, it's over. Like, nobody will listen to him on his own. Like, right now, the only reason people listen to him is because they're forced to when they listen to the show. People just suffer through it, and they always say Adam's the worst part. Like, if Adam gets fired, I'm sure people will be celebrating in the comments. So he really needs to be careful. But let me know what you guys think. And check out the Patreon. I just posted a new video, actually, about Dave Smith on Rogan's podcast. They got into an argument about Tulsi Gabbard. And also, JD Vance responded to Rogan calling out MAGA and calling him a bunch of dorks. And there are over 180 other exclusive videos, so it's definitely worth checking out. If you enjoy the channel, want extra content, there'll be a link in the description.
Okay, wait. What is the... Now I want to watch this. Dave Smith, Piers Morgan, Adam Sosnick. Is it this? No, wait, 12 days ago.
Some more. Dave Smith, host of Part of the Problem, a libertarian who backed Trump in 2024, and Adam Sosnick, who's the Valuetainment host and PBD podcast regular, a former liberal who backed Trump in 2024. Well, welcome to both of you. Dave Smith, we'll come to the tsunami that greeted your last appearance on Uncensored, led by Ben Shapiro a little later. But first of all, this sort of quaint notion now being peddled by people in the mainstream media that the podcast world is irrelevant, no one's ever heard of any of the podcasters or we YouTubers or anything, and we should all just be ignored. I don't think that's true.
Oh, I mean, it's patently absurd on its face. I mean, again, I'm not trying to like overstate the influence that any one podcast or show has. But I mean, lots of people listen to shows. They don't necessarily agree completely with the host of that show. But again, you know, to say, look, I mean, Pierce, if you look at the polls, what the polls tell us is that this is the most unpopular war in American history going into the war. And CNN is going to read you these North Korea numbers. Actually, in fact, I think it was better than Kim Jong-un did in his last election, 100% of MAGA. But what does that really mean? I mean, the truth is, Pierce, you kind of nailed it here in your opening, right? Even when Joe Biden was clearly senile and was forced to pull out of his re-election campaign, the majority of Biden supporters still supported him, you know, and like there was still going to be like 40-something% of the electorate would have voted for Joe Biden. Now, that wasn't enough, though, and that's why they forced him out, because you need a coalition to carry you here. So this comes down to like how you're defining MAGA. If you wanted to say Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and Andrew Schultz and all these guys, they're not MAGA. Well, okay, but they were relevant enough for Donald Trump to go on all of their...
What a horrible... There's so many wrong things he just said. Whether or not you still support a particular policy position is not really the same thing as if you support a particular candidate. So the comparison between supporting Biden and supporting Trump versus does MAGA support the war, these are two completely different questions. The question wasn't about people who voted for Trump or just all Republicans. It was about people who, I don't remember what the polling question was phrased. I think it was people who identified as MAGA or something versus non-MAGA Republicans, like is a specific group they were polling on a specific policy. Just because those people might be even against a particular policy doesn't mean that you wouldn't vote for a person. Also, like in the general election, it's kind of a similar point or whatever. Like there were like, he just said like 7 stupid things like all together. And then him bringing up the podcasters or whatever, and then saying that these, I don't know, holy shit, that was so many retarded things all rolled into one long sentence. Jesus Christ.
Shows in the campaign. And the point is that the coalition that got Donald Trump elected in 24, that got him for the first time ever to win the popular vote, that coalition has been destroyed. And the final thing I'll say is this, Pierce, I made this prediction on my show the other day, but right now you kind of have these two broadly speaking camps, say Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, maybe people like me, who are saying the coalition has been destroyed. And then on the other side, you have people like you played Bacha, Ben Shapiro, who are saying, no, the coalition is fine. What we've learned is that Tucker Carlson doesn't matter. Give it a couple months, Pierce, and I promise you, everyone on that side will say the coalition has been destroyed and it's Tucker's fault. This is going to tank Donald Trump's presidency. We're already past the point of that. The Democrats are going to win the House and the Senate. It's going to be impeachments and subpoenas and investigations for the next 2 years. And I don't think anyone from this administration can win the presidential in 28 at this pace.
Right. Well, Adam, you're part of a very successful podcast.
By the way, we'll see if the polls can tease this out. It's not because that Americans or even MAGA or whatever hate the Iran war. It's because they hate the high gas prices. Because we did not have this reaction to the first time we bombed Iran.
Patrick Bet-David's been a regular on the show, as have other members of your great team. And, you know, I would say just from a personal, you can only judge it personally, I guess, but I've been on some of the biggest TV shows, mainstream TV shows you could think of, right? America's Got Talent for 6 years. Britain's Got Talent. I replaced Larry King at CNN. They air my show 3 times a day in America and around the world, and so on and so on. And what's been fascinating to me in the last couple of years is I get more people come up to me in the street, wherever I am, whether it's New York, LA, London, Sydney, the Middle East, whatever, more people come up, and they're a bit younger than came up when I did any of those shows. And they're all coming up about my YouTube show, and they're all watching it avidly, and they're watching other shows like yours, like Dave's, Tucker, because they talk to me about all this. I had 2 guys last week from Denmark, 19 I think they were, stopped me in the street in West London. Passionate viewers of Uncensored, right? It was really fascinating to talk to them. So I just think this idea that people who operate away from mainstream media now, like you, like me, like Dave, like others, that we're kind of irrelevant and no one knows who we are, is completely contradicted by reality. I just see it in the streets. So I don't know whether it's self-preservation going on, that the mainstream media doesn't want to accept there's been a shift in power, but what do you think?
So we're talking about the mainstream media, so how much trust do you have in the mainstream media? But So let me answer that. So number one, Pierce, great to be with you. Dave, good to see you. It's been a little while, and thank you for dressing up, Dave. The question that you're asking is, are young people watching social media and they're watching YouTube? Obviously, duh. My mom still watches the news at 8 p.m. and if she misses it, that's it. She doesn't see it. She hasn't figured out how to get on social media. She still tries to ask me how to find me on YouTube and on Instagram.
Is it a cheat code? Condemns move forward. Just always say to the American people to PSAs, ex-Republican policy will increase gas prices. Okay, this is why I want to impart this model on Tim Miller so much. Not the Hasan stuff necessarily, but this media model, okay? A comparison I use is sometimes successful people are really bad to tell other people how to be successful because they don't know what made them successful, right? So there might be a guy who is incredibly reflective in conversations, has a high amount of like emotional awareness, is really good at being considerate of people around him, is really good at maintaining eye contact, is a bit funny, it has good manners, is polite, sits up straight. He might have all these things that he's not thinking about. And then somebody's like, oh, like how do you get girls or whatever? And he's like, girls actually just really love that I'm into RuneScape because I always bring that up in dates and they love it. And he thinks that like the RuneScape thing is the thing that's selling it, but it's actually not at all. It's like all the other things that he's just like not accounting for. You know, a lot of people from privileged backgrounds sometimes aren't aware of all of the benefits they have from their background that are boosting them. So sometimes successful people are some of the worst people to ask in terms of like, well, how do you become successful? Because they're just not accounting for all these other things going on. We're playing this game, and I've played this game as well, by the way, unfortunately, because I just don't think I was aware. We play this game all the time of like, how do Republicans win on their messaging? Is it because they pivot well? Is it because they choose culture war issues? Is it because of they fight on 80-20 things? And, you know, how do they do this and that and this and that and this and that? Like, all of these things are not the point. The point, the reality is none of it actually matters as long as you have this pipeline of stuff reinforcing what's being said. You can sell so many different messages. If you have an ideological foundation, if you have a media environment that is completely vertically synchronized, and then if you can push all that out to the culture, especially because of social media stuff today, you can push basically any message you want. And getting caught up in the like, how are they able to signal on this and how are they able to do that or whatever? I understand why people do it. I've done it for a lot of my career, but I think it's a fool's errand. I think you can push basically whatever the fuck you want, and we've seen it happen over and over again if you're utilizing this model well. And this is what we have to identify and destroy or emulate. I prefer to destroy this model, ideally by curbing social media news stuff and trying to sever the ties between journalism, entertainment, and political like lawmakers, like the actual politically elected people. But yeah, if you're doing this, you can sell whatever the fuck you want.
But yes, the 35 and under crowd is on social media, and I'll tell you an anecdote. I'm a registered independent. I never voted for Trump, and then I, had common sense and realized you vote for Trump, who might be brutish and an a-hole, or you vote for a weak, feckless, I wouldn't even call it leader like Kamala, and obviously the choice is pretty easy. But I would debate with my liberal friends, one that was very, very, very tight with the Clinton people, part of the Hillary campaign, and he noticed as I was starting to become more, let's just say, less Trump hating. This is in 2023, 2024, run up to the election. And then he goes, dude, I don't even know what happened to you. You're like full on MAGA now. I go, no, I just have common sense. I see what's going on the radical left, and it's so un-American to me. And
you have a link to the Ukrainian Anna thing you watched on stream. Wait, what, 10-minute reads?
He goes, yeah, you're just in your little YouTube world. I'm in the real world with the real politicians and the real polls. I got the real stuff going on. I go, hey, buddy, his name is John. I go, John, this is the real world now, guy. Yeah, well, we'll see. So obviously, we see what happens in the election. This is not the type of person that likes to apologize, right? Comes up to me and goes, Adam, I was dead wrong. You're right. This is a new YouTube world. Congratulations on all your success, Pierce, and welcome to the YouTube world. It is what it is.
Okay, well, we're sort of in broad agreement there. Let's get to broad disagreement, I suspect, which is the way this war is playing out. I mean, Dave, I've really struggled to work out the upside for Donald Trump from the start of this. Doing this so close to the midterms, doing exactly what he said he wouldn't do, which is he was going to stop attacking Middle Eastern countries. It was all going to be America first, a premium on sorting out American problems in America. And then suddenly he launches a war on one of the biggest...
Okay. Now, Dave Smith's built his whole reputation of being anti-war. And I think at this point he's literally said, I think he finally admitted that Kamala would have been a better pick, which is amazing. I wonder if he's going to use passive language to describe our involvement in Iran now, or if he's actually going to blame Trump and talk about Trump.
Countries in the Middle East, certainly one of the best armed. And all hell has broken loose, not least to the global economy, which is inevitably going to have, and already is having, a very detrimental effect on living standards for average Americans. If I'm an American that voted for Trump, I'm like, I don't get this. I might in a poll say, I get it.
Sarah Longwell has that model. She talks about it, so Tim should know. I think she calls it the triangle of death or something. Oh, I'd be super interested if you could link me that.
But I don't think I really get it.
Yeah, and then you also have to consider there, Pierce, right? Like there's a sizable percentage of people who support Donald Trump, who approve of the job broadly that he's been doing, who maybe, look, we're 3 weeks or whatever into this, go, all right, I'll kind of give him a chance, we'll see. But if this doesn't turn into any type of win, and if it turns into a clear disaster, which it already seems to be, that's only going to hurt him more and more and more. You know, I think, look, Pierce, it's despite the fact that it is not in my incentives in some way as like a political commentator, like I hope this whole thing just works out great. And then I know that all the people who don't like me will say, haha, you were warning that this would be a disaster. I hope that I would much rather take that deal and live in that. But here's the other element there is that, right, we had the 12-day war in the summer. And I've certainly heard, I heard at the time, some on debates that we did on your show and others, and I've heard nothing but since then on social media that, oh, you guys were so stupid. You were warning about exactly what we're seeing right now, which is what all of us were warning about who were critics of the 12-day war. And Iran didn't do that. And they were like, look, we got away with it. One and done. No Americans dead. And that's it. We don't have to do anything else. They spent the following 6 months bragging about how the nuclear threat had been totally obliterated. Now we find ourselves, Pierce, back in this same situation. And as I mentioned last time on your show, the big picture here is that clearly the calculation changed for Iran. They no longer feel that it's in their incentive for self-preservation to not strike back and kill.
Yeah, because it's a regime change war. How do people not realize this? Or maybe like Trump doesn't speak about this. Everybody seems so surprised by this. If I show up to fight some dude, and actually I see this play out in a lot of street fight videos, so I don't know if there's like this unspoken rule. If two people show up to scrap, you scrap with each other until the other side is down. Like in almost every street fight video I've watched, now maybe these are just the ones that aren't recorded, or maybe this happens in some other area. Like when somebody's down and a dude starts like kicking the person in the head or attacking them when they're down, most of the people like pull them up, like bro, whoa, stop, like he's done. Like everybody, even when these people are like pretty vitriolic in the beginning, like people generally when a person's down, they're like, okay, yo, stop. But like if somebody comes at you with like a knife or a gun, well, we're playing by different rules now. One of us has to die. Like you're trying to kill me. Like the limited strikes on Iran were for a targeted purpose that allowed the regime to continue to exist. A regime change war doesn't. So there's going to be different rules that they're going to play by at that point. They're not going to, there's no, limited retributive strike because they feel like they're fighting for their existence. It's a totally different type of back and forth.
Americans or not do maximal damage. And now, clearly, with a younger, more radical Ayatollah who has not promised to not build nuclear weapons, they've made the calculation that actually they can't not give us a bloody nose, that they have to really make this cost us. Otherwise, we'll be back in another few months doing it again. And of course, at the beginning of this war, Donald Trump said this was a full regime change war and called for the people to rise up and overthrow the government. And the people did rise up, Pierce, in support of their martyr Ayatollah and in support of this regime. I know you saw some of those aerial shots. There must have been hundreds of thousands of people out in the streets in Tehran, in the most liberal part of the country, supporting the regime. So I'm sorry, at this point, this just looks like a catastrophe. And the best we can hope for at this point is that it only ends up killing like 10,000 people, and it only ends up costing tens of billions of dollars rather than the 200 that Secretary Hegseth has asked for. And this all relies on two major factors. Think about this, Pierce. It's not just that Donald Trump has to call it quit and declare victory or whatever, but then we got two other entities that are majorly involved in this war, Iran and Israel. Now we know at this point, Iran is saying they're vowing not to stop. They talk a lot of bluster, who knows, maybe they will. But Israel, Pierce, we all know they want the regime change here. In the 12-day war and in this war already, they've hit targets after Trump has clearly asked them not to. Who's to say they don't continue doing that? And it begs a real question of how we get out of this quagmire. Yeah, 3 weeks in, we're already there.
Right. So Adam, you've had a little spat with Dave on social media. When he called it an illegal war of aggression on X, you said, come on, guy, read the room. Dave responded, let's not pretend you read, Adam. To which you replied, I'm able to read scoreboards. You are losing big time. Do you still feel that? I mean, do you still feel that? Because I would argue that the scoreboards militarily absolutely would show that the United States and Israeli combined forces have inflicted enormous damage on Iran's military capability. I think that's inarguable. However, what I don't think has been properly factored in.
I don't know if that's true. They must have, right? But like, this is one of those things where I say truth, you have to be truthful because at some point you come into contact with reality and you can only lie. You can lie more depending on how far you're removed from reality, but eventually it'll catch up with you. But there are some things that you technically like never encounter, like the number of illegal immigrants crossing the border is an example I give. I imagine we've done a great deal of damage to Iran because we've killed a lot of their leadership, and that just seems to be the case. That seems logical to me. But it really hurts that Donald Trump has told us multiple times that we've destroyed like all of their capabilities, but they still seem to be blowing shit up. So what does that mean? My president is completely and totally lying to me. It's a bold-faced lie every time he says we've accomplished all this stuff. So now I don't know. Now I have no idea. I don't know who I'm left in the dark. I don't know who to trust on that. I'd probably, honestly, as sad as it is, I'd have to look to probably Israeli state media to figure out what the Iranian capabilities are because they would know more than anything else.
The Americans and Israelis is the ability of Iran to wage an economic war in parallel to a military war. And that by controlling the Straits of Hormuz and by attacking, as they have done, their neighboring Gulf states, both oil refineries and tourist hotspots and so on, they've managed to freak everybody out and they freak the global markets. And this is incredibly damaging to Donald Trump because every day that Straits of Hormuz is shut.
Great similar example. Bush had mission accomplished on the aircraft carrier, but no, That was true, though, right? Saddam and his regime were gone. Now, there was the whole issue behind that of, like, nation building, but the Saddam Hussein army and the regime was gone. That was right. So that was way more legitimate than whatever the fuck Trump is saying.
Then you will see the impact for the next few weeks and months coming through the US economy and the global economy, but the US economy. You know, when fertilizer, when the impact of that being stopped comes through in a couple of months' time, it takes a while to cut through to the actual people of America. But it will, and when it does, it's going to be very damaging. Do you not think that the longer this goes on, the more of a miscalculation has been made here?
Look, I'm not the Trump is the all be MAGA guy. I'm the guy that was like, yeah, I'm not so sure about this Trump guy. You know what? Oh, I got the fake news. Oh, Russia. Oh, it turns out, yeah, you know what? He's way better than the other side. So I had to use logic and a measured approach to get me to the point where I'm like, he's the...
At the time, my impression was we had troops in Iraq, Destiny, so saying mission accomplished was BS. Wait, I could be misremembering. I thought the mission accomplished thing came after we got rid of Saddam, like after we toppled the regime and they had him like in custody or whatever. Am I wrong on that?
Guy. So I'll ask you another question. Let's say Trump wasn't here. What's Kamala doing?
Oh, no,
so everything in politics is binary.
I think Kamala Harris would have been a terrible president. I thought Joe Biden was a terrible president. And I've always said with Trump, I think I find myself agreeing with some of the things he does and disagreeing with others, which I think is the right way to deal with Trump. I think if you just judge him on what comes out of his mouth...
Well, that's just like with anything, Piers. You're not going to agree with everybody and disagree with it.
Right. Yeah, so, okay. And look, when I came on
This weird, childish thing, and it's annoying. I can't tell who's like a bad faith actor here versus who just doesn't have the experience. Adam should know better. Pierce should know better. Dave Smith is a loser man-child, so I don't know. But even he should probably know better. The idea that your words just don't matter and you can just say whatever is just so unbelievably stupid to me and childlike that you know that CEOs can't get away with this. You know that that leaders, like team leaders, supervisors, like presidents, obviously, like you can't just, your words don't matter. That's just it's the most childlike, stupid, like indefensible position anybody can have. I hate that Trump just gets away with that.
The PBD podcast, I loved it because we disagree about stuff and you guys come on, we disagree, we agree, but we never fall out over it, nor should anybody, right? But on this specific call about Iran, I did say on day one, I think this is a massive gamble. And I don't understand the timing. And I think the capacity for this to go badly wrong is very high.
Ooh,
the longer it has gone on, because Trump originally was like, this is over in days, then it's over in a couple of weeks, then everything started changing, then the regime change he said was going to happen with people rising up. None of that has happened. There are lots of reasons for it. I think the reason we saw so many pro-regime people hit the streets was they were not going to get killed doing it. We saw in January when people protested against the regime, a lot got killed. And obviously there are bombs flying around all over the cities of Iran, which will also put people off, I guess. So there are lots of reasons, I guess, why people are protesting or not protesting in certain ways. But to me, the justification for this war has changed so many times. It's made me think, I don't think Donald Trump has any clear idea of what victory looks like. I mean, if the regime remains intact and they keep their enriched uranium, for example, and they maintain control of the Straits of Hormuz, is that victory?
Well, look, this was not an easy decision. You think, these guys have been in power 47 years. Everybody in our microwave hustle society wants this done in the next 4 to 7 weeks. It's going to take some time. And I was talking to a good Navy SEAL, buddy of mine, Navy SEAL. He said, dude, we've taken out 80% of their military capacity. Not bad in less than a month. So let the guy cook a little bit. So you also talk about, Dave, that, oh yeah, they had people out there pro-regime. Yeah, nobody's denying that 10 to maybe 20% max of the country is pro-regime. But what about the 80% of the country? That's like a date at a comedy show. There was 100 people that magically showed up to Dave's comedy show. Oh my God, he has so many fans. Dude, there's 100,000 people outside that didn't go to the show. I'm not being like brutish or sarcastic, but just you're taking a small sample size and extrapolating that for the entire country. We all know
just to be clear,
who this regime is.
Hang on, Adam,
we all know that this is a terrorist regime.
Just to be technically correct on that argument you're making, if 100 people turned up to watch Dave's show, then technically over 8 billion chose not to.
Wow. I think we'd overthrown the Iraqi regime, but Saddam hadn't been captured yet. You're right about the timeline. Saddam was dead. U.S. said major ops were open. The criticism was war wasn't over. Oh, f you then. Saddam was dead. Okay.
And that's pretty uniform at this point.
This is really making me feel bad about my numbers on the road.
It doesn't necessarily mean that 8 billion people.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean there are 8 billion people who don't like Dave Smith.
I used to own a couple. No, it's fine. I mean, I actually do like Dave Smith. Let me tell you a Dave Smith story. I actually have respect for Dave Smith. But I realized who Dave Smith is. And I would say this to his face or on camera. Dave Smith is a radical libertarian. Don't take my word for it. You've said this multiple times.
Not.
Have you not, Dave Smith?
Said what? That I'm a radical libertarian? Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yes. Okay, perfect. So when you're something, you're radical. What's another word for Americanism? Extremist. Okay. This is why you call America terms. This is why you call the U.S. military the greatest terrorist organization on earth, right? Because you're a true American? Because you're a true patriot? Is that why, Dave? Because something tells me you have what is known as clickbait of the mouth. And you're using these instances, these wars, to garner attention for you. You have the American flag behind you, yet you have the hypocrisy of saying the United States.
I know we don't like Dave Smith, but Adam is a special level of retard. Nope, not even. Adam is like a decently smart guy. Like he has information in his head. He's on the Ben Shapiro path, which is you are a relentless Trump dick suck until Israel or the Jews are brought up. Then you become anti-Trump. He's on that Ben Shapiro line.
States military. United States is the greatest terror organization the world has ever seen. I mean, I don't understand what's going on here. This is why you're radical.
I didn't say
by the
the
way,
word
I'll tell you what. Hang on. Just to be fair today,
hang on.
let's replay what he actually said on this show, which caused all the furore, led by Ben Shapiro. We'll play what he said, and I'll play what Shapiro said about it, and then we'll come back today for a response.
The IDF is the worst terrorist organization in the region. Let's get real. The United States of America is arguably the worst terrorist organization in the world. If you want to look over the last 25 years, how many innocent civilians we've slaughtered.
It doesn't matter, it turns out, how many times you appear on Joe Rogan's show, or how many times you hide behind your title of comedian who holds the Guinness Book of World Records for fewest jokes told, or how many times you spew puerile analogies that demonstrate nothing but unbelievable, willful ignorance of the nature of war. I'm sorry, but you hate the country if you say America is the worst terrorist organization in the world. You just do. Now, I know that Dave Smith is super duper excited that his name was mentioned here, and he's sitting there shouting at his TV screen in his basement, "Debate me, bro!" To which I answer, nah. I don't debate with trolls who claim that America is the biggest terrorist state in the world.
Wait, okay, so using this model, okay? When people do this, I won't debate you. If you want to know why I moved from debating a bunch of conservatives to not, it's because the only types of conversations these guys want are conversation style 1 and maybe conversation style 2. But once you've moved into 3 or 4, they will not debate you. They do not want to have that conversation. So Ben Shapiro doesn't want to talk to Dave Smith now because it's either going to be adversarial or it's going to be fully hostile. That's why he is refusing this year. Yeah, every time.
Because that is idiotic.
So Dave, as you know, that all blew up. A lot of debate raged about it.
Hello.
Just let me clarify what you meant. Do you regret phrasing it the way you did? Just give us a bit more meat on the bone.
Never mind.
No, I don't regret phrasing it the way I did, and I'll be very clear about what I'm saying. I will point out that it's quite something for Ben Shapiro. Just since you played him, I got to respond to him first. That he goes, "Oh, I just won't debate with this guy because this is so beyond the pale." Ben Shapiro made his name debating 19-year-old communist Maoists who were confused about their gender. So somehow, Pierce, we're going to have to believe here that I'm so much less serious than the children who Ben Shapiro made a career debating.
True, but has Dave Smith ever given that criticism of people like Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder in the past, or is it now only brought up because they're adversaries? Maybe he has. I don't know.
I loved your response to him where you pointed out some of the goofy segments that he does on his show. I mean, personally, I really stay away from that stuff. And, for Adam, I think to say it's clickbait or that I just want to get out in front of the camera, I think we're all equally in front of a camera right now. And it's kind of weird to accuse someone else. I very much believe the things I'm saying.
Dave,
now, to Adam's point,
Dave, don't run from the comment. Don't run from the comment.
I'm trying to
address the comment, not Ben Shapiro, would you? Good, let's go, wrap it up.
No, I'm going to make the points I want to make.
You called the United States military.
You're just slowing. Okay, so
you called the United States military the greatest terror organization in the world.
Adam,
defense.
Just let me answer. No problem. I'm going to go back to the order I was going. To Adam's point, when Adam says I'm a radical libertarian and I say that this is true Americanism, I mean, look, my favorite founding father is Thomas Paine. Not everyone considers him a founding father, and maybe I love him so much because he never held a government position and didn't own slaves, which I thought was pretty cool. But Benjamin Franklin said he was the most consequentialist and the one person most responsible for the United States of America existing. His famous pamphlet that he wrote was called Common Sense, and I think on the first or second line of it, he says, "Government is at best a necessary evil." So at best, he's
so freaking epic, dude. That's so freaking epic.
Like, this is clearly on the anarchist to night watchman state spectrum was what true Americanism was when it started. Now, for me to say what I made the point, I've made this point a million times on your show, Piers. I was saying when people come on and say Iran is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism, well, just like give me an objective definition of what terrorism means, and then let's apply that standard universally. And if you're going to sit here and say, look, America has given billions, tens of billions of dollars to the IDF in the last few years. We've also, by the way, given a lot of weapons and money. Your first guest on this show there, the head of the Obama.
The problem with the, I don't like to, we'll go over that Israel thread in a bit because I want to talk about why I banned the 50 people I did. I don't know if you can use terrorism against Arab states, or at least the ones in the region that are fighting with Israel. He says give any definition of terrorism you want. Generally, I think like in layman's terms, or there's not like a formal definition of terrorism, people generally say that terrorism is when you are attacking civilian populations with the goal of effecting some sort of political end. I think in the broadest of senses, like what people will say terrorism is. The problem, though, is that it's pretty rare that America will just start bombing civilians or attacking civilians. It's just, I don't know if it would be very effective for us to do that. I think just not even because we're good or bad, but just because we're such a huge power that it would just look bad doing it. I don't think that would help at all. Secondly, for Israel, like it's hard to argue that you can engage in terrorist attacks to change the opinions of populations next to you when, some of the people fighting you are literally suicide bombers. Like clearly some of these people are willing to die for the fights that they're in. Secondly, I would argue Israel has flirted with and tried to engage in terrorisms in the past, but like it doesn't work. I think it was in the second Lebanese civil war. I think they tried things where their idea was like, we're going to bomb deep Lebanon. We're going to Beirut and we're bombing, and we're going to drop, I think they even dropped pamphlets saying, we're going to tell you guys, listen, we got to bomb you because Hezbollah is here. So if you guys can't deal with Hezbollah, get rid of them, this is what's going to happen. And everybody in Lebanon hated Israel for that. Nobody was like, fuck, Israel's got a good point, man. They're fucking their civilians up. If we don't get rid of Hezbollah, let's do it. Nobody was on Israel's side for that. It was a total failure.
Nobody is in Lebanon or nobody in like world politics?
In Lebanon, it turned the population radically opposite to, especially, but also Nasrallah and Hezbollah they were trying to do nice things with the civilian populations, like the mafia, like they would try to like do services or build homes or whatever the fuck else.
They're like trying to pay people off kind of in a way.
Well, yeah, and provide some like kind of service to the people. I don't know to the extent of that, yeah. I just don't think it's a very effective strategy at least for Western nations. You just generally can't get away with like doing a terrorisms because the populations just aren't compatible with it. The other side doesn't care if you do it, and your side is not going to be on your side more if you do it. Yeah.
Well, no one is saying, like, in the recent bombing of the school, nobody's saying the United States did that on purpose, right?
Of course. What do you mean? Yeah, every slopulist is saying that. That's
why would the United States want to do that?
Because they're evil.
Okay, it's retarded.
That's it.
Okay,
yeah,
whatever.
Kalinsky. Every time you hear somebody call it a double tap, for instance, they're saying it was intentional. That's every.
Well, I heard that
Kyle
they
might
might have
says
done
it.
a double tap on
But no.
bridge.
I don't like the double. Well, on the bridge attack, I think was deliberate. But
Yeah,
the
it
double
seems
tap
really
implies you're definitely like when we say we quote unquote double tapped Venezuelan people in the ocean. The big bad about that was that we attacked a boat,
Oh, there
saw
were
people
survivors,
floating
yeah.
there, and then attacked it again to kill them. Not
Yep.
we hit it twice, right? Yeah.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Deep state was using al-Qaeda, bin Ladenite head choppers on the ground in Libya and in Syria. And yes, Adam, I would also consider it when our politicians lie us into wars that slaughter millions of innocent people and in many cases target those innocent people. I consider that terrorism as well. There's the answer, Adam. And if you want to keep doing this, buddy, you can tell me to check the scoreboard. I'll run circles around you on this, dude. Check the scoreboard. Most unpopular war in American history going in. Check the scoreboard. 13 dead Americans and 150 plus other wounded. Thousands of innocents, including little schoolgirls in Iran, killed. Dead innocent Israelis. Hundreds of dead innocent people in Lebanon. Millions of innocent people being displaced, all at the cost of tens of billions of dollars and destroying Trump's coalition. Check your scoreboard, Adam. How's it looking for you?
Okay, Dave. Okay, it's not working well for you, Dave, because
Substantively
you're
respond
still
to any
saying
of that,
that
Adam.
United States. You're saying the United States is a terrorist organization. You've already lost the debate. You live in America, tough guy. You have the luxury of sitting in your little studio with your hooded sweater, like you're 17 years old. The regime. You mean all American presidents?
I'm 17
Who's your
years
favorite
old?
president in the last 50 years?
Adam, I'm
Who's
17 years
who's
old.
your favorite president in the last 50
I have
years?
a wife and children. Who depends on you, Adam? Your
Who's-
mom?
Okay, I also have
you want to make it
significant
personal.
other, so you want to go personal?
You have a significant
Dave,
other.
we can go as
Anyway,
personal as we can go.
No, I'm trying not to.
We can go as personal as you want.
Respond to one thing.
I don't
Adam.
care, Dave.
Adam, some substance.
I don't care.
I know because you don't know
Dave,
anything.
you're a radical.
So move on. So
Okay.
stop picking a fight with me, dude. You don't
Dave.
know anything about anything. You're Pat's guy.
I know.
And I like you,
Here's
dude. I like you. I
what
like
I'm
your
gonna tell
show.
you.
I respect
Pat's
Pat.
Dave, okay, Zay, here we go. I'll talk now for a second. I'm defending the military right now. You're basically saying that all our boys that go to the military are all terrorists. That's what you're saying.
No.
You're equating that the United States of America, the IDF, are the equivalent of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. By the way, I also used to respect you until you went on a little podcast called Coleman Hughes. What happened on that podcast, Dave? This is the problem. I'll tell you a
Why
quick
don't you do
story.
it right
When I
now,
moved-
Adam?
when
Why
I-
don't you do it?
I'll do it right now, Dave. I'll do it right now.
for
Because
it.
here's what Dave is. Here's Dave Smith. By the way, 1% of Americans vote for libertarians every year. So you're trying to basically say that you know more than the average American. 1% of Americans vote for your people, Dave. Why don't you run for something? Why don't you stand for something? You stand for nothing.
Okay, can I respond? Again, Pierce, this is the level of substance.
No. Here we go. I'm going to tell you a story, Dave, and then you can respond. Because this is where I lost respect for you as a debater. Because I was like, oh, this guy Dave, he actually knows some stuff. He's doing his thing. And then you showed up on Coleman Hughes' podcast. Pierce, do you know who Coleman Hughes is?
I do. He's been on the show.
I've been on the show with him.
Perfect. That's this guy right here, just in case if the camera doesn't see.
But what is the point you're making?
I watched this podcast. The point is this: Dave gets out there and he tries to bully people and say that he's so smart. He reads a lot of books. Good for you, Dave. But what happens when you run into somebody who's way smarter and bullies the bully? I remember growing up in this town of Miami, so there was this kid that used to pick on all the kids that we went to school with. And one day, some new kid showed up, and he goes, oh, yeah, let's go, buddy. Let's do this. And the bully goes, oh, what do you mean? What do you want to do? And he goes, no, yeah, you want to fight everybody? You want to take everybody's lunch? Let's go. And the new kid beat the crap out of the bully. And here's what happened with Dave. He's out there just doing his little podcast thing, debating, like you said, Ben Shapiro, 19-year-olds. And then all of a sudden, this whole conversation about Wesley Clark, and I saw him on your podcast about a week ago, Pierce, and this memo, here you go, Dave. Remember this memo from Wesley Clark? That you use to cite everything.
This is
that you
adorable.
use to cite. Yeah, that is adorable because your whole
when do I get to
foundation is
respond?
based on some memo.
Well, I'm not quite sure Adam, I'm not quite sure what is the point you're making.
The point is this: Dave has zero credibility at this point. Dave has zero credibility.
Well, you don't
at this
really
point.
get to decide
And he
that.
ran
You know, the
into
people- the
somebody
audience gets
that
to decide
completely
that.
bullied. What audience?
Okay.
The four
Well,
people
can
that show
I
up to your comedy show
respond?
at the
Yeah, okay, Dave, you respond.
Okay. Can I respond now because I listened well?
I mean, the question I'd ask you, Dave. The question I'd ask you, Dave, is the way that you're.
Let me respond to some of that.
I will,
Pierce.
yeah. But I just want to ask you, just on a general level.
How are you going to respond to what Coleman Hughes did to you? There was like a body bag after that
Let him
debate.
respond.
Well, you ain't doing nothing, bro. You're sitting here talking about what another man did.
You've already been in a body bag, Dave. I'm here to clean up the scraps.
This is like retard on retard combat. Adam should have specific points from Coleman Hughes if he feels like Dave didn't respond to them, but this is just, all of this is retarded.
Okay, let me just ask Dave this, which is, as you know, the comment you made about America being a terrorist state and so on, that went pretty viral. Do you understand why a lot of people got very angry about the perceived equivalence between America and terror organizations like ISIS, like Al-Qaeda, and so on.
Yeah, no, well, listen, I mean, there's no question that the head
I don't think he does, but go ahead.
Hey, Adam, I mean, just let me talk now. I understand all you can do here is interrupt and hold up props or something, but let me make a few good points.
You said that America is a terrorist organization. You've already lost the debate. Go ahead.
No, I haven't actually, and that's not, you don't really get to decide in the middle of the debate whether I have. It's who moves people more than the other one is really, I guess, the metric. But
you're 1% libertarian. You're really moving people. You're really moving people.
I mean, Adam, I understand this will just be your tactic for the rest of it because you're out of, and you're just out of your depth. But here, okay, yes, actually, I didn't vote for the Libertarian nominee.
Go ahead,
Donald Trump came to the Libertarian Party convention and tried to convince a lot of us to support him, and I'm one of the people who did, and now I'm one of the people who's criticizing this policy. Now, in terms of, obviously, Pierce, it's a provocative statement. I know that when I make it, and I'm not claiming that the American military men are the equivalent of ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Obviously, they're much more barbaric. These head choppers, the one who Leon Panetta and Barack Obama all sold weapons to and partnered with, and the one who Donald Trump recognized as the president of Syria. I'm not saying that one isn't more barbaric than the other. I'm simply making the point, Pierce, that if you define terrorism as targeting civilians in order to affect a political change, then by that objective definition, the U.S. military and the IDF are more guilty of it than anyone else over the last 25 years.
Their argument is always that the U.S. military and the IDF do not deliberately target civilians.
Yes, Pierce, but again, we've been through this.
I'm just saying, for the benefit of fairness,
that's not true.
This is their argument, whereas the difference being that genuine terror groups like ISIS, like Al-Qaeda, they deliberately and brazenly target civilians for political purposes.
Pierce, when you have roaming blackouts for 9 days in Cuba because we've embargoed the energy that can go there, I'm sorry, that is targeting the civilian population. When Hamas slow rolls the remains of dead Israeli prisoners, whatever, I don't know, I get in trouble for using the wrong word, the dead Israelis that they were holding captive, even after all the live ones are out, and the response from the Israeli government is we're going to cut the aid to the civilian population in half, that is targeting civilians. And when you drop bombs all over cities and you know that innocent civilians are going to be killed, that's targeting civilians. Now, as far as some of the other stuff here, look, in terms of the debate with Coleman, I encourage people to go watch that. It's only people who already disagreed with me going in who say I got body bagged there. The rest of the people tend to say, it was kind of a good, respectful back and forth, and both people had some moments. But for Adam to say I only debated children up until Coleman, I debated Dennis Prager, I debated Douglas Murray, I debated Josh Hammer at an Oxford-style debate at Princeton University, and absolutely smoked him on the Oxford-style voting. I debated him again at Charlie Kirk's event. I've been coming on this show. How many debates have me and you done, Pierce? I've been willing to debate whoever wants to debate this subject for over 2 years now. And so to say that I'm just being Ben Shapiro and going around to college campuses and debating 19-year-old dudes in wigs claiming to be women, it's just not true, man. I debated Chris Cuomo right in front of you, Adam, the biggest host at CNN. So I just think this is ridiculous. Coleman made some, listen, I'm not gonna say a negative thing about Coleman. He didn't attack me. He went at the issues, and I really appreciate and respect that. I've actually been trying to host him on my podcast. I hope he'll do it.
Okay, Adam, your response.
Yeah, and listen, I do respect the fact that Dave does show up.
He does.
I mean, that's like, okay, cool, you showed up. Respect to that. I will give Dave credit. But Dave, and this is why I'm going to keep going back to this, to pretend that it was an even match, an even debate, he put you in a body bag, and you're out here still doubling down on all your positions when he went methodically and surgically.
This is the saddest thing. I've never been in a debate where someone just fell back to someone else's debate. Boom, boom, boom.
What?
I think Piers is loving this.
Yeah. He needs to, this guy, Adam just needs to bring up some examples of things he feels like Dave didn't address, at least one thing.
Name one of the booms. Make the point for yourself. Yeah. Me and you are supposed to be debating
here, brother. The memo from Wesley Clark. The memo from Wesley Clark, your whole foundation for your Israel. So listen up, little guy. So your whole foundation for Israel dragging America into war was that this memo from Wesley Clark showed up, and that's the reason that America got suckered into the Iraq war, because Israel convinced him to do it. And he went and surgically and methodically and very calmly was like, Dave, you don't know what you're talking about. Your entire foundation crumbled. And you're dipping, you're doing your little thing where you're doing your nicotine. So, but the point is this, your Holland's Opus, this 3-hour debate with Coleman Hughes, it wasn't close, Dave. And that's fine. You want to sort of be revisionist.
That's your opinion.
And say, you know what, we went point for point. No, Dave, that was any person with logic. Because you didn't have a response. Your only response was,
how to read the book.
Adam, it is an unusual position to spend.
It's not ridiculous.
Adam, it's an unusual position that I've had you guys
because that was the aha moment for me. So far, I said, this guy is actually a lightweight. He's actually a lightweight.
Well, this is that moment for you for a lot of people, Adam, so congratulations.
My point to you, Adam, is simply it's an unusual debating strategy to spend 10 minutes of this debate talking about another debate that most viewers may not see.
I mean, there's other debates that we can bring up. The fact, Dave, when's the last time you were in the Middle East?
Okay, so this is what we're falling back to now? Yeah.
Wait, I can't tell real quick. So can you make...
I didn't hear what he said.
Can you make cats less inbred? If a slightly inbred cat here, if he has a kid with a new stray, is that cat going to be less... Okay, thank you. Okay, gotcha.
This debate, talking about another debate that most viewers may not see.
Yes,
I mean, there's other debates that we can bring up. The fact, Dave, when's the last time you were in the Middle East?
Okay, so this is what we're falling back to now.
When was the last time you were in the what?
No, you know
Just
the answer. You're not asking.
You were in the Middle East.
Oh, the Middle East. That's the travel question.
I have not been to the Middle East. Go do your best Douglas Murray acting job. So, Adam, brother, I was prepared to come in here on friendly terms. So you are humiliating yourself right now.
I'm really not.
You're humiliating yourself right now.
You've been humiliating yourself for the past 2 years, basically saying that America is a terrorist organization, that the IDF is a terrorist organization, and you're whitewashing actual terrorism. What are your thoughts on Islamic terrorism coming into the West? What are your thoughts on the war in the West? What do you think of ISIS? What do you think of the Muslim Brotherhood?
Are you asking me questions?
Go ahead.
It's a huge risk. And it's a huge risk, especially right now after we just murdered an Ayatollah and his whole family.
What's a huge risk?
Blowback terrorism is a huge problem, and having not secure borders is a nightmare for policy.
I'm not talking about.
I'm very concerned about
blowback terrorism. Do you see what's going on in the West? Do you see what's going on where Piers Morgan lives in London? Do you see what's going on all over the world?
I've been an advocate of strict immigration controls for many years.
By the way,
you're just making stuff up because you have nothing, dude.
By the way,
you have nothing here, man.
You just said that America is a terrorist organization.
Adam, if you brought my country
into it. He's anti-American, and here I am as a proud American saying that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
You said that Dave couldn't talk about the Middle East because he hasn't been there much. When was the last time you were in England?
Oh, this is why this came out now. I got it.
I spent much time in England. My ex-wife was
Welsh.
When
was the last
time? She wasn't a sheepshagger.
When was the last time?
The last time I was in Europe, in England, in the Middle East. Where would you like me to go?
No, England.
The last time I was in England was about 8 years ago.
Right. So this idea, let me tell you.
The last time I was in Israel.
Let me tell you.
The last time I was in Israel.
This idea. There is a weird idea.
Do we have to put this episode out?
There is a weird idea. There are many people.
Are you saying that it's not going to a country?
Adam, many people. Hang on. Many people on the conservative right in America seem under the illusion that my country has been taken over by radical Muslims. Let me tell you, I have lived here on and off for the last 8 years, unlike you, and respectfully, we have not been taken over by radical Muslims. It just hasn't happened the way it's been sold by people like Tommy Robinson to Americans, and you're all lapping it up.
How would you define it then, Piers?
I think we have a Muslim population which is predominantly peaceful and inclusive and settled well, and we have some radical members of radical Muslims, as we have radical members of other religions in this country, and we have to be very wary about it.
What other members of radical religions?
Hang on. And we have had severe immigration control issues run by successive Conservative and Labour governments.
Duke, I'll drag up in 3 minutes, 4 minutes after this is done.
Who frankly lost control of our border, both to illegal immigration, but also allowed way too many people in legally. And these are proper, legitimate things to be discussed. We're framing it, as some people like to do, as my country's been overrun and overtaken by radical Muslims. It's just a lie. It's just not true. So yes, there are things to be concerned about. And yes, I want to see everyone who comes here assimilate, and everyone who lives here assimilate into our culture. Of course I do. But this idea that we've been overrun and overtaken is nonsense.
Yeah. Piers, can I just make one quick
point? So you think it's all blown out of proportion? Everything that everybody is saying about Sharia law being imposed in London and Birmingham,
it hasn't been imposed here. It hasn't been imposed here.
Okay, anyway.
You're saying that it's... There are a number of unofficial Sharia courts operating. They have no legal basis or standing in the UK whatsoever. There is no Sharia law being operated legally in this country. And it doesn't happen.
Thank you, Piers. Thank you for enlightening me. So you're saying it's all overblown, that Islamification
come over with the whole PBD team and let me take you on a guided tour of the UK. And trust me, you'll be fine.
I'm sure you're going to all the nicest places. Definitely one of the most dangerous places, Piers. I'm sure you're not going to Birmingham or Brick Lane or anything like that.
I love Brick Lane. Best curries in England. I love Birmingham. Fantastic place.
Incredible Bangladesh.
Also, I'm sure there are dangerous parts of London that I haven't been to, but I still think Americans have no concept of any of these things. And even in America, people don't really have a concept. Like, for dangerous places, you're usually talking hyper-specific places at, like, some certain times of night, and oftentimes, like, what you're doing. Like, it's pretty rare that they're, like, death zones where you walk to and you get fucking murdered, even in the U.S. It's like... well, whatever.
I'll take you there.
Back to my central thesis here is that Dave thinks that the United States military and the IDF are the equivalent of the Ayatollah and the Hezbollah.
All right, you made that point. Dave, final point to you.
I know. I think we all kind of agree that like open borders and lack of immigration restrictions are not very sound policy, and that those ought to not be in place. But I do just want to say too that I guess almost brushed up against.
Isn't that what libertarians believe in though? Don't libertarians believe in open borders?
Let him finish.
Anyway, let me just finish one point, Adam. Since you have nothing to say, just let me finish the point. Anyway, no, like libertarians.
I've already said what I have to say. You've been in a body bag for about a year now.
Let me finish. Yeah, great. Okay, I've been in a body bag anyway. Let's see what the reaction to this one is. Let's see what the reaction.
Why do these shows have delays? What software do they use? I have meetings with my EU workers, and there's no delay on Zoom or Teams. So why do these shows have delays? I don't know. I think they're just connecting through like a whole bunch of like legacy tech that nobody really understands, but they're just systems or stacks of tech they've used for a long time, and then it's just. Yeah.
To this debate is okay. We'll take a look at that when it comes out.
Sure.
Anyway, but the idea that
we can gladly do that. Great. You're defending terrorism, and you think the United States is a terrorist organization. Yeah, let's see what rational MAGA people think. Go ahead, Dave.
Let's see. Okay. Anyway, the idea that you're making the point that the General Wesley Clark thing has been torn apart, and that was my entire case for Israel trying to push America into these wars is absolutely ridiculous. There's much more to it than that, and that point hasn't been torn apart. Pierce, is anyone going to seriously argue that Israel trying to push us into this war with Iran isn't a factor? As Benjamin Netanyahu, the longest-serving prime minister in Israeli history, brags about how this is the culmination of his entire life's work. He's been advocating this for my entire life.
Well, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, said it very clearly that America preemptively got involved in the strikes because Israel were going to attack Iran, and so America thought there would be revenge attacks against American interests and got in first.
And Netanyahu's been coming here every other week to try to lobby Trump into this war.
Guys, you guys are saying that Trump is that big of a buffoon that he just gets dragged into wars.
Please come back again another time. I'd love having you on. Dave, always good to see you. I've sadly got to leave you there, but I appreciate it both very much. Thank you.
Enjoy that body bag. Enjoy that body bag. Look out for the comment section.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Allah Akbar, buddy.
Well, thanks to David. I'm joined now by
These
Bill
guys
O'Reilly,
are
host of No
awesome.
Spin News and author of Confronting Evil. Bill.
Whose blood is this guy draining to never age? How old is Bill O'Reilly? Shouldn't this guy be like 80 by now? 76 years old. What the? Why does he look like he's like 52?
I was thinking 6'7".
Oh! Oh!
Oh,
Okay, what do you want?
hello. Yeah, so just some standard Israel ball flattening
and
stuff.
You're European. Jesus Christ, the worst.
Yeah.
Okay, what's up?
So like I think you said like yesterday and and today, like Israel is still like an American strategic ally, and you used the phrase Western nation. I just think I'm not sure it really applies to Israel anymore, given what we've seen lately.
What? Why? What changes your mind on that? Do they still have elections?
Yes.
Is Netanyahu conducting himself in any kind of like authoritarian, crazy manner?
Yes.
How?
I think you would say like wars of aggression. I think they fairly clearly fall under that.
I don't think so. I feel like it's when you're engaged in like military conflict and you're using like crazy loopholes or like unilateral control of the military in order to do it. Like the Trump stuff with Iran and Venezuela is bad because he's like explicitly like bypassing our Congress and not trying to get any kind of authorization or approval. I'm not aware of Netanyahu utilizing the IDF in that manner in a way that is incongruent.
I'm not saying like internally they're not doing anything like that, but externally, I think.
Well, I'm asking if it's like an authoritarian-ish regime. I'm just trying to figure out because you're saying it's not a Western style.
I wouldn't
nation.
say authoritarian, but I wouldn't say they're a liberal regime anymore.
Why
like
not?
Small L liberal.
They still have like freedom of speech. I don't think they've like sort of.
Yeah, but I think the way they're conducting themselves is much like how the US is conducting themselves at the moment, which is like not necessarily as a liberal country would conduct itself.
Why do you think the United States is not a liberal country anymore? Because when I view that, I view Trump's attacks on all of our institutions, on all of our liberal institutions, not just because we go to war.
Well, yeah, there are. But there's undermining of institutions, and then there's going like it's all part of the same. It comes from the same place, is what I would say. If you want to, like, if you're going to say internal stuff with Israel, I do think like that death penalty thing is quite strange.
Well, one, I'm not even sure if I don't know if that death penalty thing will survive the courts, but like it's really, as much as people like to make a big deal, it's really not that strange. Like there is a huge, unfortunate double standard when it comes to law in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and the Palestinians that live there don't get to play by or don't have to play by the same rules. They don't get to play in the same courts. I shouldn't use play. Let me rephrase this. They are all tried in military courts as opposed to like the domestic or civil, I don't know if you say domestic courts in Israel. So this is like another step in that direction, but like that dual legal system is the really, really bad thing. I don't know if this is like massively removed from that in terms of being a horrible thing. Like it's bad, but it's not. But the dual legal system is the really, really bad thing.
I agree with that.
But again, I'm not sure how this is like an illiberal thing. Like if this is a thing that they're passing, I don't know the super ins and outs of their legal system, but if this is a thing that their parliament can pass in a relatively, if they're able to pass it, I don't know what's illiberal about this. It seems like you're saying like illiberal things I don't like.
I don't think, but this is like how Trump, like it's the spirit of the law versus like how it's actually like just because they're passing laws democratically doesn't mean they're liberals.
I just don't understand. It sounds like liberal in your mind is like things that you don't like, basically.
No, I'm saying like Western kind of Enlightenment values, like generally speaking.
What does that mean? Western Enlightenment values? Like what are we talking about?
Like freedom of speech, freedom of assembly.
But then I don't think any of these things
are respecting sovereignty, respecting human rights.
Kind of, yeah. But I think that this has always been an issue with Israel when it comes to the occupied territory since '67. But I don't think it's gotten, I'm not sure if you would say it's worse now than it was in 67.
I think it's worse in the last 20 years, I'd say. Like since the second Intifada, and definitely since like Trump 1 and Trump 2, I think there's been I would have agreed with you like in 2023, but I think the more this has gone on, I think their actions are less and less explainable, and like they're just reacting to everyone around them. I think they're
always reacting. They're still explainable, but I mean, at some point, like they're going to fall. Like you can explain why Nazi Germany existed. I think you mean like, would you support the actions? Yeah, I mean, I think that the support for the current Israeli military actions that's definitely decreased over time for sure. Yeah, but I don't know if you'd say, they're not a Western style nation anymore.
I mean, in terms of like ideology, not necessarily. I don't know, like their system of government is. Lots of countries have like parliaments and stuff. I just think ideologically, I just don't think they should be. They're necessarily aligned with what I would say is like the liberal project.
Okay, I just completely disagree, but I guess you can have that opinion, sure.
But like another, maybe even if like we put that aside, like morally or legally, like you disagree with me, but I think strategically, I don't think the US being aligned with Israel also is benefiting the US at all anymore.
How not?
I just think, well, this latest war, I don't see what benefit the US has gotten from being an ally to Israel.
Do you think we have a benefit with being an ally with like Saudi Arabia and like the Gulf states?
Not necessarily, but they haven't done anything to harm you either.
So we have
which I think Israel has.
Can you conceive of like really bad outcomes if Russia or China had greater control over the GCC, over all of those Gulf states and OPEC and everything?
Sure.
Okay, so then wouldn't our alliance with like Saudi Arabia and then by extension of Saudi Arabia, Israel, isn't that like beneficial for us?
Yeah, I would say, but Saudi Arabia hasn't done anything to like outright harm you, which I think this latest war and like how they've conducted themselves, like they undermined Biden, they undermined the JCPOA since its inception.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, so is kind of Saudi Arabia, right? I mean, like Saudi Arabia and Israel are at least the leadership are fairly aligned on things. Like Saudi Arabia hates Iran. I mean, like we were part of their little fight squad against Yemen for 5 years or whatever. Like they generally don't like any of the Iranian players in the region.
True, but I just don't. That's true, but like Saudi Arabia hasn't incited this. Like they've kind of kept things under wraps. I think Israel has been extremely reckless, and like they've exploited the U.S. relationship for their own ends. But I don't think it's been mutually beneficial.
Yeah, I would say for this Iranian thing, I think it's more beneficial to them than to us for sure. I would agree with that 1,000,000%. Maybe even detrimental to us depending on how all of this plays out.
Yeah, which is why I think this is kind of what I think maybe like you've seen some dissonance in like DGG with your stance, like.
No, I think this is a largely brain dead position. It's this, and I'll go over this in this thread later. This idea that like, have they done the thing that makes you hate them now as a country? Should we completely ban them? It's like that's like the idea that you would have an ally, and then like when they do a bad, now it's just done. We have to leave completely. Like these are said by people who either always wanted us to leave this country and never be a part of their alliance network or whatever, because like they would have to do quite a bit of stuff to move to an area where like, oh shit, okay, yeah, we gotta sever ties completely. Because the idea of having no alignment with Israel, but still trying to be very close to Saudi Arabia, like this plays out poorly for every single person in that region and for our influence there in the future, theoretically. If we have no control of Israel whatsoever. Like that's like a really weird...
Obviously, like I'm European, and I kind of see this, I kind of look at Israel the same way I would look at the US right now. It just seems like they're both acting in a very unhinged, very similar ways, and you can't really consider them allies, at least not right now. And I don't know how it changes. Because if you've elected Trump twice, if Netanyahu is your longest serving prime minister...
Yeah, but the difference is that for the United States, it seems to be the case that we're making these unbelievably unhinged and crazy decisions for no reason. We're like schizophrenic. For as Israel's, modern, military apparatus and everything they're doing is like they are still responsive to threats in the region. Like you can argue that the response is over the top. I would argue that, or that they're a little bit too fixated on their own short-term outcomes and not necessarily the long-term health of the region or other people that are impacted by the region. But like at the very least, it's responsive to stuff. Whereas in the U.S., it's like fucking random. I don't know.
Yeah, but I wouldn't, obviously I would agree they're they're not irrational, but I just don't think it aligns with what quote unquote the West should be standing for. I just don't think, I'm not saying we should be pro-Palestine. I'm just saying I just don't think like being associated with them is detrimental, and it strikes as hypocritical when like the problem is Hasan. It's so easy for Hasan to dunk on liberals because it just looks so bad, and I don't think it's just because it's an optics thing. I think it's actually
but Hasan is aligned with Hezbollah and Iran and the Houthis.
I know that, yeah.
So it's not.
But I don't think
he's not even in a position where he can call that out as hypocritical. Like this guy literally sides with terrorists.
Yeah, okay, but I think the moral distinction between Hezbollah and the Houthis and Israel is becoming smaller and smaller by the day, because especially like in the last, since I'd say 2024, when it became kind of obvious that they don't really have any goals in Gaza. And now they've invaded southern Lebanon. They're like blowing up villages as they go, and then like unilaterally striking Iran, dragging the US into a wider war, disrupting the global economy. I don't see why you should stick by this country necessarily. Like maybe it would be strategic. Maybe there are some like unforeseen strategic consequences down the road, obviously. But I think morally and legally, I just don't see why it.
I mean, I think we should restrain them more, but like flipping and just abandoning the region seems like a pretty strong reaction to that doesn't benefit us in the long run at all.
Yeah, I could I could agree to that. Like if you were to say, like if we were to see the future, I'd agree. What would you say if I would say like if the policy prescriptions for a future Democratic presidential candidate would you say like how much more of a hardline position should a future Democrat take?
How much more? I mean, I'm okay with like sanctioning people that are involved in like settler violence or anything like that. I mean, Biden was able to restrain Israel when it came to military actions. Like I'm good with that. I mean, you can condition aid or weapons on Israel. Like I'm okay with that. I mean, like you should do everything you can to bring them into like alignment with your own interests.
Do you think?
Do you think if the United States just completely like kind of went isolationist around the Middle East / Israel, do you think that Israel would just be more like more hands on and like unchained at that point? Do you think the United States kind of like stops them in a lot of the stupid shit, Steve?
I think depending on who the leader of the U.S. is, I would say yes. But
got it.
There's also the interesting question, just to throw this one out there, but hypothetically, let's just say Israel tomorrow disappeared. How do you think that region would be working at that point moving forward? Do you think it would be better, or do you think it would be worse than what we have today?
You asking me or Destiny?
I'm asking you. This is not a hard question.
It's hard to know because
really, it's hard to know
when
people with like a flag like "Death to America," like when they're okay. Gotcha.
Do you want to answer the question, or do you want to like jump down?
No, I go ahead.
I think most of the instability, like especially since the first Trump administration, has come from Israel, and Iran is the other side of that coin. But the problem is they're both contributing to it. I don't think I'm not pro Iran or any of these like tanky terrorist axis of resistance dumb fucks. But
there would be a lot of craziness, like if we dropped Norway into the middle of Central Africa, for instance, right? Do you think the reason that there's so much chaos and insanity going on in that area, is it just because Israel's fucking evil and they want to kill everyone, or is it because there's a lot of things coming at that direction as well?
I don't think it's that simple. I think Israel has. There's no like you can't explain like the settlement expansion other than
that's one thing that you have.
It's a big thing
in that area.
But wait, what were you going to say? Wait, you can't explain the settlement expansion with what? What point were you going to say?
With kind of like normal like reacting kind of in like a proportionate or just reacting to like other bad actors. Like it's a bad act in itself for no other reason.
Well, the reason is because they at some point they know they're going to have to absorb the West Bank. Like it's going to come up at some point, so they're just trying to
that's like then that's kind of conceding the argument, isn't it? That they are trying to ethnically cleanse or whatever or annex the West Bank.
Their goal, of course, would be to ethnically cleanse.
That's bad.
I guess. I mean, the Palestinians want to ethnically cleanse the Israelis from both of these areas as well, right?
So why are we picking one side over the other in this?
Well, one of them is a
right now we're picking them. Yeah, I mean, like because they tend to be they're more Western style, so they're our current allies, and we're kind of more aligned with them. But I mean, another reason why we kind of the default is picking Israel is because, as I said before, the status quo supports Israel, and nobody is like pushing for any like real change that would help any of the Palestinians. So the status quo.
But why shouldn't we change our status quo? Like I understand up to this point why Israel has been an ally.
What do you mean change our status quo to who? Supporting Hamas? Supporting Hezbollah? Supporting the Houthis?
Neither.
Who are we supporting? Or you just want to abandon the region completely?
I would just take a much more neutral stance.
Abandon the region?
No, I think you could
provide aid to both.
I think
we already did.
No.
Give them both nukes and let them fuck each other up.
If the Democrats take back, say, the presidency, obviously not Americans, it's also nothing really to do with me, but I think the US could maybe have one last go of forcing Israel back to the table, and if they refuse, I think it's kind of like on them.
Well, why do you think it's on just Israel to come back to the table?
Well, I think you can like lay out where we're going to do this one last good faith effort, see if the Palestinians reciprocate, and then.
It's funny you bring this up because
I think most of the Gulf states, I think, are acting much more responsibly than...
Bill Clinton tried to do exactly this with the Clinton parameters. It was like a last-ditch effort to try to figure out some negotiation, and Arafat walked, and nothing came from it.
He did, yeah.
So I mean, like, I don't know what the.
So are we never going to try again, or?
No, I think we should. Like, I'm not really necessarily. Actually, I think I've even given explicitly what you're saying before as an example. Like, I think we should like push Israel to solve it. Yeah, I agree with that.
Do you think the U.S. should like unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state?
What kind of state would we even recognize? The states that
in principle.
I don't know. What does that even do?
Like European countries have done so.
I guess if it
that
makes people feel
would put
better,
pressure on Israel to move back.
Would it?
I think you should also move the MC back to Tel Aviv.
Sure, well, it definitely should have never moved. I don't know if moving it back now would be possible or not. But like, I do agree it shouldn't have moved. But like, what would if we recognize the Palestinian state? Like, how many more symbolic victories do the Palestinians need as they lose more and more territory and more of their people get blown up?
I think it's more about the U.S. legitimacy, like that you are maybe committed to.
I don't think Israel needs the U.S. for their legitimacy. Like,
I want to ask a question here because I'm curious if both of you guys would answer this. Who do you think benefits more from being an ally of Israel in the United States? Like, do you think the $4 billion, which is like what, a third of a GameStop, do you think that's making Israel? Like, why is it? I mean, I'll just pose that question to you. Who's coming out better in this, and why?
Are we?
Yeah, to you.
Are we saying just the 4 billion? Or are we allowed to talk about all the other stuff as well?
Sure, all the other stuff.
Like intelligence and F-35s. And...
Yes, intelligence and F-35s. Who's coming out ahead in this relationship?
Right now, probably Israel, because they get to do whatever they want and dominate the region because they know they can't be fucked with.
Why can't they be fucked with?
Because the US is defending them.
Why is the US defending them?
I don't know.
There's one more part of this puzzle and you can answer it.
I don't know. You have to tell me the answer. Maybe it's obvious.
Because the United States gets meaningful benefit from Israel that surpasses the losses that they're doing here.
Wait, you just begged the question. What is the benefit?
Intelligence, which we also get that way. Israel acts almost as a firewall for a lot of terrorism that would be directed at the United States, like with countries that have a motto of death to America, death to Israel, death to the Jews. Israel's a lot closer to America.
Okay. But that isn't this right now when you say America's kind of appearance of being really close to Israel is probably more likely to cause more terrorism than less. At the moment, it looks like Israel's a lapdog or America's a lapdog of Israel. I'm not saying that's necessarily true. It's like an anti-Semitic trope. But the problem is you've got the reality of how things have played out. It just looks exactly the same. You can watch a Hasan stream and a Nick Fuentes stream, and they start making sense, and it's insane.
Okay, I need like more meaningful reasoning as to why the United States is there, and just saying Israel's making them be there seems silly, right? There's obviously a benefit the United States is getting. Do I know every specific benefit that the United States could be getting from this? I don't, but I'm assuming that they're not just doing this out of the goodness of the heart, because this is costing Trump dearly. Is it not? Right? It's killing him in the polls. It's wildly unpopular.
It's killing Democrats too, though. It's killing all the U.S.
I think it's hurting Trump a little bit more than
the big schism in the Democratic Party is over this Pali issue, and it doesn't seem to make any sense why you would stick by them, considering how they've behaved.
Okay.
Like maybe obviously I think it would fucking suck if I don't know. I guess they around and found out, and like maybe they got invaded again. I don't know. Actually, I have no idea how. No one can predict how it would actually play out if America stopped supporting them because they do have nukes and stuff. But being like their infinite, unless you can completely reel them in, being like their infinite kind of backup is just they've just exploited that, and I think it's made the situation worse.
Of the countries in the Middle East right now, if you had to put them on like a good boy, bad boy list from the bottom to the top, where all the way at the bottom, you're killing gay people and not having fair elections, and you have a dictator in chief and suppressing political uprising and all that. Where do you rank the Middle East countries?
You mean among themselves or internet? You said
among themselves.
Yeah, among themselves.
So who's the worst?
Probably Iran. Maybe there's one I'm thinking of who's worse. I'm forgetting.
Okay.
The best. Problem is the best. It might be Israel, but it might not. But the problem is it shouldn't be close. Like that's kind of the problem.
Okay. What about the other countries?
Like I think most of the Gulf countries right now are like, especially in the last 15 years, they're still monarchies and stuff, but in terms of everything else,
killing protesters and.
Has Saudi and the UAE haven't killed protesters?
Careful.
Okay. So
have they recently? They killed that journalist guy.
Yeah.
MBS. Yeah. But the thing with like MBS, he's kind of like this. I read this Zizek article recently. Yeah.
How's the UAE building their skyscrapers right now? Are those guys out there in the white dresses?
Immigrant labor.
What's another word for the people building that?
Immigrant labor. I don't know what they're not slaves. If you
really? Oh, they're like pogging out.
No, they're paid.
Oh, can I pay you like $1 a day to come do whatever I want, and I'll just take your passport?
I've worked in the Middle East. I know what the
Oh, so you've been
is. They're exploited labor. Yes, they're really shitty, but they're not slaves.
Oh, well, all those investigative journalists were lying to me. All right, well.
Are the Palestinians who come work in Israel, are they paid really well, are they?
I imagine they're paid, yes, better than the people in Dubai who have their passports taken and can't leave until they serve out a contract, and then even then.
Yeah, okay, fine, but I'm not defending the Gulf countries.
You kind of are, because you're focusing entirely on like Israel's the worst actor here. They're by far the worst, and
no,
you're just like
they're not the worst, but they're right where they should be. They're like among their peers. That's the problem.
That's why I was asking you to rank where you think the countries are.
Yeah, I said I don't know. Israel might be towards the top, but the problem is I don't.
You might. Well, I mean, you feel strong about this. I'm just asking you to rank them. Like
he's saying that Israel might not be the worst, but that all of them would be bad. So we shouldn't associate with any of them.
Okay, well then, if we have to put them on a scale, okay, where one of them is the best and one of them is the worst, where are we? Do we really think that Israel is just the same as the Houthis, pretty much?
No. What?
Why are you saying?
I think Israel is probably worse than Saudi at the moment. Okay. Maybe not like internally. Obviously, they've got way better civil rights and stuff, but externally, they're not like Saudi isn't invading other countries.
They definitely were. There was the huge civil war in Yemen.
I said right now.
Okay.
Or the UAE. Like the war in Lebanon is like 100% like annexing part of Syria. I think they even refused to normalize relations with Syria recently for no particular reason. So like that whole kind of past trend of them giving up territory for peace, that seems to have stopped. I think al-Sharaa wanted to normalize and they refused.
I don't know enough about the current Syrian government to say, so I can't say.
Yeah, okay. Fair.
Well,
yeah. If you want to talk, one of the points that Hasan is bad at, like when he went to Cuba, he didn't mention anything about like their political prisoners and how they. I don't think he brought it up at all. So that's another thing you could say, how he's illiberal.
Sure.
I know he talked about what he said about Russia and Iran and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I think the hotel he was staying in was probably a state hotel because the Cuban government like bought most of the hotel rooms as like a revenue stream for tourists. But the problem is, and I think they also want to corner the market when they might transition to a market economy. So like,
I like that you came in here at the end with a Hasan bad to try and win some favor.
To sweeten the deal. Yeah. I just I think that's probably why, like, if you've seen, like, the DGG has been quite up in arms recently. I think that's where it's coming from. I just think that people are seeing the disconnect of how Israel is, and they kind of see. I think they see Israel like MAGA, like just very illiberal.
Israel is a liberal
in terms of the kind of ideology that's taken hold there. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I don't think America is necessarily like it's not like a binary you are, you aren't. But I think.
To be clear, when I say this type of stuff, I'm only comparing it to the people around them, right? Just like if we were, I don't know, looking at like Central African countries, I might be like, oh, really? Kenya is bad. Are you serious? Like, you know, it's in comparison to the people in the countries around them. And I know that for a lot of issues at the hand, you know, if you're a gay person, if you go 1,000 miles in any direction, you're getting killed, right?
Probably not in the Gulf states, but yeah. Maybe like the UAE, you'll probably be fine, but definitely that's the thing. Like since like I think 2015, Saudi and like they've liberalized a lot. They're not nearly far. Like they're not like a Western country, obviously, but I just don't think that's why we don't necessarily align ourselves with those. Everybody kind of understands where our position is. Like I'm saying, ours in the West with regards to those countries. But the problem is Israel seems to kind of try to lump itself in with like European states in America, and I just don't know if they deserve to be at that table at the moment.
Okay. Because you think that they, I don't know. Like
I think they're like a malign influence, kind of like a.
You can criticize Israel because they've done up shit for sure, but I think it has to be in perspective of also what up shit has been done by other people around them. And when
but should we align ourselves with Israel? Is the question? That's like my main question.
Well, you know what you're doing? It's like almost like not lesser evil voting, which is something that's bad, right? You should do lesser evil voting when you have the chance. So the question is, what's the lesser evil in this region, and where do you want the United States to be aligned? Do you want the United States to be aligned with the Houthis?
Nope.
Okay. Do you want the United States to be aligned with Jordan?
I don't know much about Jordan, to be honest. Maybe, I don't know. Do you have a base there, the US?
Well, I'm just asking where, if we're not going to align there, and you want to step back, I feel like that will be worse for everyone in that region.
Yeah, but
Israel will go full unhinged.
Yeah, but like the general kind of, if we're talking like liberal or democratic critique at the moment, is that we are too aligned with Israel, and they want to stop funding, like maybe sanction them and stuff. And I think that's a reasonable position considering Israel's actions, because they don't really align with us in terms of our morals and what we stand for.
Okay. I completely, of all the countries out there, the ones that are most similar to, where are you? Ireland?
Yes.
Okay. The place that you can like land in tomorrow and start walking around and be most similar to Ireland is going to be Israel.
I know that, but I'm just.
Then why are you saying it's the least similar to your morals and your values?
Any
other places not like
their
that.
foreign policy and the way they conduct themselves, I just don't think it's like saying like I could probably walk around Russia and be fine, but like that's not. I hate Russia.
He's saying that Israel might be the best of all of them, but all of these countries would be below his threshold for a country we should support.
Basically, yeah. I'm not sure if I've been. Maybe I'm not. Maybe my argument isn't entirely consistent, but I watched all those research streams, and like Israel has an inspiring story, and like the foundational principles and everything were quite cool. I just don't think it's that country anymore. I think even Netanyahu is like almost as like he's not even the furthest right that parliament goes. He's like fairly in the center. And I just don't see, even the opposition is entirely in favor of the foreign policy, just maybe a little bit slower. But I don't see why, unless you can, when a Democrat comes in, you can very, very quickly rein them in and change things.
Shouldn't we be reining in like the Houthis?
They're not your ally.
Okay.
Everybody,
you want to stay allied with Israel?
Conditionally, it would have to change.
Okay.
Especially
why would you? We don't have to be allies anymore.
Why would you want to be allies with Israel if Netanyahu, this guy?
Okay, so fine. You're not allies with Israel anymore. Then what?
No, but you hate Trump, and you must hate Netanyahu.
What are you talking about?
No, you hate Trump, so you must hate Netanyahu for the same, because he's like Trump's best buddy. So why would you, if Netanyahu's still there, why wouldn't you distance yourself from them?
Netanyahu. Okay. You're saying this is like connected to Epstein because of this. So you think that Trump and
fucking mentioned Epstein. What
okay,
the fuck?
I'm making a joke. So you're saying that Trump and Netanyahu are best friends, and that is why what? Like I'm trying to keep up here. So
I'd say Israel has basically gone full MAGA.
Okay, great. So should we stop being allies with them? Stop supporting them completely? Yes.
I don't know about. I would say a drastic scale back. I don't know.
Maybe, okay, how about nothing? Nothing at all. Just nothing. Complete, like, no intelligence sharing, no nothing. Do you think Israel is just f***ed and they're cooked and they're not going to be able to do anything moving forward?
That wouldn't be the worst. It's probably a better position than what the US currently has. Especially
for,
under Trump,
for the US or for the people in the region?
US. It'd be bad for Israel, but it'd be good for the US.
No, it'd probably be pretty good for Israel, and I think that they would go full molestation of everyone in the region.
You just stop. Well, like if they don't have any more weapons or spare F-35 parts, I don't know if they could they? Or
okay,
they'd run out of stuff eventually, and I think
and they can't buy from anyone else either, right?
Well, they have U.S. systems. It wouldn't be compatible.
Okay, they wouldn't have U.S. systems. It wouldn't be.
No,
compatible.
they have U.S. systems, and stuff they buy wouldn't be compatible with.
If the United States stopped being an ally, stopped supporting in every way whatsoever, even if they say, you know what, we're not going to even do business with you anymore at that point. Do you think it would be better or worse for everyone around Israel at that point? Do you think they're going to be like, oh shit, time to move in? These guys are now. Is that what would happen?
It would be worse for Israel. I don't know what they would do. Maybe they would.
I didn't ask if it was worse for Israel. I asked if it was worse for the neighbors of Israel.
I'm not sure, because Israel might have to start acting more carefully. I don't know. It could be worse, but then Israel could get hit back quite hard. And then they might have to realize they need to start behaving more conservatively. I don't know.
Okay.
I do think Israel has taken advantage of the amount of latitude the US has given it, especially recently. And I think it's bad for the US, and I think it's bad for the region. Definitely bad for Israel's standing in the world. I don't know if it'll be bad for Israel in the end, but yeah.
Okay. I don't agree. I think the United States probably does a certain amount of reining in Israel. I think the amount of aid that we give them, $5 billion for 2025, I think is a drop in the bucket of their own funding and the money that they have. I think that if we were to completely abandon Israel and be like, you know what, fuck it, YOLO, fuck this whole region, peace out, which is probably what we would do in the circumstance of what you're saying, that the people around Israel would not have a good time. That would be worse for them, that Israel would go actual full mental at that point. And I think that it would be worse for the people that you're supposed to be caring about. And we're supposed to be...
If that did happen, wouldn't it be justified for if Israel did go full mental after the US pulled its support, and let's say all the Arab countries united and wiped Israel out, that would be kind of justified, wouldn't it? At that point.
Yeah, but they would never do that, right?
I know, but like we're kind of saying, it seems like the moral calculus is kind of weird here. We're kind of like, we're stopping Israel from going completely unhinged, so we have to stay their friend. Like, it doesn't seem to be a very principled stance.
Do you believe in lesser evil voting?
Fuck.
I don't think this is analogous to voting.
Well, I didn't ask you. I was just asked if you believed in that.
I do, yeah. Okay. I guess.
Well, thanks for the perspective. We love you very much.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing. I don't know if Ukrainian Anna listens to stream, but she's kind of been brain broken by some Irish lefties on social media. So just maybe she could not take that so seriously, because like Irish lefties on Twitter are very visible because they're also nationalists. So whereas like you lefties from other countries they won't identify with flags in their bios and stuff. So she thinks like Ireland is very anti-Ukraine, which is kind of the opposite of the reality. So I hope she
I'll give that a
doesn't
moment.
Continue that. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
I'll tell her off.
All right. Bye, Dan.
Bye.
Wow, you Dan that guy up hardcore.
Well, there's a lot of people in your chat that, for whatever reason, are really. Let's just say, I think you've started to attract some of the, dare do I say it, anti-Semites a little bit.
Well, no, I have. Like my audience has always been a bit to the left of me, and they're just probably to the left of me on this issue.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, what's up? How you guys doing?
Hi, what's up, buddy?
Hi, how are you?
Doing okay. Just hanging out.
Just hanging out. Is now a good time?
Sure. What do you want to chat about?
Yeah. Okay. Great. I was gonna ask you about the conversation you had on Wix panel in regard to the soy pill, and you're saying Hasan was worse than Nick Fuentes.
I don't like these comparisons because it's hard, because you're trying to value like reach versus like we're talking about different styles of harm that these people are getting into. So it's very hard to figure out like who's worse. Like who's worse, a person who like a Supreme Court justice who is the tipping vote on Roe v. Wade and then outlaws abortion, or like a person who rapes and murders two people. Like it's so hard to compare the difference to. Like, who's worse between Fuentes and Hasan? Like Fuentes is a much more politically power-aimed person, which is bad. Well, I would say bad because his political ideology opposes mine. I don't think Hasan is like a positively aligned person and that he's supporting candidates that can win elections. But he is more detrimental to my movement. Hasan hurts my movement way more than Fuentes hurts my movement. So there are different ways to compare these two people, but so it just depends on how you're asking the question.
I wouldn't disagree with you with that framing. It's just that when I watched this conversation, I kind of disagreed with some of the points specifically you're making. I'm not trying to like pinpoint you and like nitpick you, but at the same time, I just want to point out, maybe we use these terms differently in Canada versus the United States. But this is what I wrote down. White supremacist movements tone down the genocidal rhetoric because it is so toxic to promote, and usually is a crime in a lot of places. Even if it isn't a crime, it could put their group under investigation, despite them not vocally saying that they wouldn't deport Jews if they had the power, they would exterminate them. So like what I'm trying to say here is that white supremacist organizations like Nick Fuentes, their true goal is for the extermination of Jewish people or ethnic minorities. While Hasan's goal, I would, in my mind, even the most extreme version in my mind of Hasan, he would probably go through like for some sort of deportation, like the meme, like go back to Europe. And I feel like that was like kind of like the opposite of what you're saying. It's kind of what I disagree with about,
I mean, given perfect power, I'm sure neo-Nazi types would try to kill as many people as possible, sure. But like realistically, this is like such an esoteric issue. Of the current rhetoric that both sides push, Hasan seems to push a pro-destroy Israel rhetoric. I'm not aware of neo-Nazis that push that rhetoric. They might say it, I just don't hear it. I don't see it clipped or whatever. My understanding is generally their goal is like Israel needs to stop controlling the U.S. government and they need to get the fuck out of our politics. So if they thought the only way to do that would be to destroy Israel, they would do it 100% for sure. But I just don't hear that rhetoric pushed as much. Not because they're more tolerant of minorities or anything else, but they're just like hyper nationalist, hyper isolationist. That just seems to be the thing that they push. Whereas Hasan is more anti-Western and pro not America, so he would take proactive steps to support the enemies of the United States, which would mean destroying Israel. Like, and he's made multiple tweets about this.
Be more like So like that would be like more like actual conclusive harm. But I guess this comes again to like the difference between maybe the United States, which you are more familiar, maybe Canada and Europe. At least, like I can name a white supremacist figure here in Canada. His name is Jeremy Mackenzie. He has openly and viciously called for the kind of like the extermination of Jewish people, which led to his investigation. So also, I think something important to point out is like when you talk about white nationalist, white supremacist, white identitarian movements, it kind of like the ideology behind these movements kind of it's integral for the ideology. Some sort of hatred of ethnic minorities and Jewish people. Would you agree or disagree with that?
They would call it separation now, but like, yeah, I would probably generally agree with that. Yeah, it's hard to be like some kind of hardcore identitarian without mandating that you have to hate some group of people. So I would broadly agree with that. Although I would also argue that Hasan's movement and communism is similar. Their thing is just it runs on like ideological lines, so they have to kind of hate liberals and be opposed to people that identify as liberals.
Okay, well, yeah, but like I truly do understand where you're coming from. Like, if Hasan is probably doing much more harm to Jewish people or like the state of Israel, probably just by virtue of him being a large political commentator on the left, then like right wing groups, or like even white nationalist groups, just because these groups don't have that much broad appeal to the broader American public. And I guess that's kind of like the issue in this specific conversation, is that since Hasan is kind of like whitewashed himself as like a safe, edgy, like we don't hate Jews, we hate Israelis, it kind of like it's easier to like get across that messaging more. If do you kind of understand what I'm saying?
Kind of, I guess, or I guess what's your broader point?
My broader point is that like yes, Hasan and the white nationalist groups in the current political environment, Hasan obviously has much more damage to Jewish people. But if you look at it in the sense that like what do these movements look in like in the future, or what do these movements hope to manifest, I would still say white supremacists are more harmful.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'm just not sure 100% if that's true. Like, I feel like communists have also like identified a lot of enemies of communism and act in ways to secure their ideology. Like, fascists just tend to center theirs around like nationality ideas or around racial ideas, but communists will center theirs around ideological ideas and move to exterminate like non-ideologically aligned people.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I think even like when you
wait, if you wouldn't disagree with that, how is that? Isn't that directly contradictory to the claim that you're making that white nationalists are identitarians?
Wait.
I'm saying that both movements would more or less kind of something.
Well, I guess it's the manner in which these people kind of like engage in their violence against like Jewish people. Like a lot of like communist groups, from my knowledge, would kind of engage in suppression of Jewish people. They would like kind of ban the Jewish religion. Like I was going to bring up Lev Gumilev, who influenced a lot of like socialist policy in the USSR. Like he identifies Jews as like a landless people, and therefore leftist anti-Semitism manifested through legal discrimination, while Nazi anti-Semitism manifested itself through a lot of like actual like crimes against humanity, like genocide and stuff like that.
Okay, are we talking about like just with regards to like the like Jewish people, I guess, in terms of who we think would be?
Yes.
And then in the very beginning, yes. I guess I could maybe agree with that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, okay. Well, I feel like it's okay. Yeah. No. Thank you so much for the short conversation. Okay. Much love.
Yeah.
All right.
Have fun.
Thanks, Dan. Love you, Dan. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Fuck, man. Got him.